Good morning. Well, today I'm going to do a little walkthrough of the coop that I put together here this year. My COVID stress release project, as it were. So the building is 10 by 10. On the tall end, it is 9 feet tall. And on this end, it's 7. It's divided into 2 sections. 5 feet is for the hens, and 5 feet for people. So a couple things that I did want to incorporate was the ability to not be here every day. We like to go camping. And so I set it up with self-waterers and solar power. So up on top, I have a 60-watt solar panel. It's actually 4 15 watts that are together. And then I just strapped this elbow on there to protect the wires as it came over the edge of the steel rope. I tried to do this as cheap as I could, but with COVID, building supplies are really expensive, so it got more expensive than I really wanted. But I used what I could when I found stuff laying around that was usable, like this rain gutter I had laying around, and put that on and went and got a rain barrel kit. I got the barrel on a guy from the marketplace. The barrel was like 10 bucks. And right now it's disconnected. I drained it for the winter. I will put a link on all the stuff that I ended up buying to put this together in the description of the video. So I did use the Raptor E-venting. I left it open and then wired it closed. And that's a main part of the venting system for the coop. I also have side vents. Everything's covered in 1/2-inch hardware cloth. So again, here's a rain barrel. It's a 55-gallon. The plumbing got a little wanky because I turned the barrel after I already had the valve in. So I had to adjust to bring it into the building. It's 1.5 PVC. Again, I had that PVC laying around. Here's my side venting. There's one on each side. That's directly into the hen house. These eaves are closed off, of course. And it's a 1 foot overhang all the way around the roof line. Here's the hardware cloth on the end. That goes all the way across. The outside run is 12 feet by 10 feet, wrapped in 1/2-inch hardware cloth with an 18-inch hardware cloth apron underground for digging predators. This ended up being more expensive than I had hoped for because treated lumber was really expensive this year. And everything's treated out here. And because I used treated lumber, I had to use stainless steel staples to staple it, because normal staples, galvanized staples, the chemical they use in treated lumber will eat the staples. I doubled up on the spacing. These are, about 2.5 feet apart, because I have a lot of predators here. I live pretty much out in the woods. There's no neighbors visible from anywhere on my property. And I've got coyotes and wolves and raccoons and possum and skunks and weasels. You name it, they're going to try to eat my chickens. So this is pretty beefy. A bear might be able to rip through that wire, but anything besides that, they're not going to be able to. So I did put a tarp over the top, and it's wire underneath that tarp, because I want to keep the run dry. I intend to feed and water the chickens out here. I don't think it's a good idea to have water in the winter in Wisconsin because of all the moisture. I want to keep everything in the hen house as dry as possible. On my door, I've got a bolt on top, a bolt on the bottom, and a latch here. That's solid. Nothing's getting through that. Here's the other one. Now this is right above the roost. I have that covered up for the winter just to eliminate drafts. It's really nice in the summer though. And then yesterday I set up for winter. I drained again. I drained the water system, my automatic waters, and I plugged in power. So we'll go inside and take a look. This is a 110 standard plug port, which is nice. It's got a rubber gasket to keep it sealed, and you just plug in a cord and you got power coming into the coop. So right now I have this set up to turn the lights on automatically about 10 minutes before the auto door opens. And this is my power system. There was a battery here, and yesterday I switched it over to the power supply, which comes in here. Sorry, it's low light this morning. Let's see if I can help. There. So here's where the power supply comes in. Sorry. So that just comes through, and it's got a little pigtail with a plug. And then I ran it up, and I just have it on a power strip. It's a lighted power strip. And it's only got 3 plugs, but that's all I need out here. One for the Wise Cam, one for the power supply, and then this one is going to be for the heated dog dish, which is right here. Haven't put it in yet. It's not so cold that the water's freezing quite yet, but I would assume in the next week or so it will be, and I'll have this set outside in the run and ready to go. What I'm trying this year, I haven't tried it before, is a flower pot. Oh, so the girls are getting ready to go outside because my door is opening. So that's my auto door. And they spend most of the day outside in the run. It's pretty quiet. I've seen online where some of these auto opener linear actuators are loud. They're getting through before it's even open all the way. They like being outside. It's still opening. It goes nice and slow. It takes about a minute for that to open all the way. So I have it right now opening at 7:30 in the morning, and then I have it closing at 6:30 at night. And I'll adjust that because it's still pretty dark out yet. And I do have a little auto feeder inside just as a trial. And when they get up in the morning, they hit that first, but their main feeder is out in the run, and I'll show you that in a little bit. So as long as we're in here, I'll show you what the inside looks like. So here's my auto watering system coming off the rain barrel. It's pretty straightforward. The jury's not in on these waterers yet. Of course, everything is drained right now because winter is coming. And I'm not sure about these little watering cups. I've read some reviews, yay and nay on them. So far, I'm kind of in the middle of yay and nay on them. I might try something else next year. At the end of this, I added an adapter to put on this plastic hose. And this plastic hose serves as a sight glass that tells me how much water is in the rain barrel at any given time. I don't have to open up the rain barrel to check. I just look at this sight glass, and when the level's here, and you can see the water level quite easily, it's full or it's not. Yeah, so that's been working out really well. Here's my auto opener. It's a linear actuator that I salvaged off of a lift chair. Like a reclining lift chair. They're heavy duty. My only concern when I did the testing on it was the travel was only 8 1/4 inches. And that's about how much that is open right now. It's 8 1/4 inches. I thought, well, most of the doors that I've seen online are open 12 inches. And I thought, well, it's not even going to be enough. The chickens have no problem coming and going real easily. I don't have a real big rooster, but he gets through there no problem. The hens will go through there. You watched them go out even before it was all the way open. They were squeezing through there. So not an issue. 8 1/4, 8 1/2 inches is plenty for them to come and go. And that works out really nice. I really enjoyed. I was happy that it worked out. So above all this construction above it, is to keep them from roosting where I don't want them to roost. Anytime you want to prevent a bird from roosting where you don't want them to roost, you make it at a pretty good angle, and they will not go on there. I only want them to roost on the roosting bars. Now these are almost 5 feet across. It's 5 feet by 10 feet in here. And I lined the pallet underneath with linoleum. Makes it a really easy cleanup. 20 seconds with an old dustpan in a 5-gallon pail. Everything's cleaned up, good to go. They spend so much time outside that the bedding here stays really clean. They're molting a little bit, so there's feathers here and there, but other than that, it's been working out really good for keeping things nice and fresh and clean in here. And so in the nest box, I use straw. Those are ceramic eggs. Still trying to get more of my girls laying. With molting, they're not laying as much as they could. But that's the inside. Here's my Wise Cam. I like the Wise Cam. It works pretty good. It's Wi-Fi. The coop is close enough to the house where I have a connection. This piece of siding up here is also to keep them from going up there and roosting. In my old coop, it was in the bottom of an old dairy barn. 3-foot wall, solid stone walls. And I built it in the inside, and there's big beams going across the roof part. And they would roost on an electrical wire going across the rafters. So, didn't like that. So, on the inside of the eaves, I also have it covered with hardware cloth. So it's inside and out on the side vents and on the eave vents. It's double wired. Now, above the roost, I covered that up. I didn't need that extra ventilation. Although it's wired on the outside, it's nailed on the inside. And again, there's the other one that is closed off for the winter. Again, double wired. everything is double wired. So even if a predator got through the outside, they're going to have to work hard to get through the inside as well. So yeah, that's been working out real well. Well, let's go outside and see what the girls are doing outside. So even on this door on the inside, I've got a hook here, and then down here I've got another hook, and this is a locking hook. Just for a little extra security on the door. If a critter got into this side, he's not getting in. This is the nest box. I've had this nest box, 18 years. A lot of eggs have come out of this box. Salvaged it from last time. It's easy opening to get in. It's worked out real well for many years. You know, a lot of the, other than the tall wall, that's 9 feet tall, that's store-bought lumber. All the other lumber in here, including the roof rafters, all the other lumber is rough cut sawn lumber. A friend of mine has a sawmill, and the rest is all pretty much solid 2x3s. So I saved quite a bit of money with that. Here's my electrical system. Now, it looks very complicated. It's not. I will put links again in the description for the timers, the switches, the solar charge controller, these power studs that I use when I switch over to 110 power to run everything that's 12 volt. The relay that switches everything. Now this relay and these two timers just do the auto door. That's all they do. This one opens it, this one closes it. This one that the light's on is for the inside lighting. I have the light come on 10 minutes before that door opens, and then I'm trying something to leave the light on in the coop for 6 hours. Before I had it set to leave on for an hour. After they got up and went out, it's an experiment to see how things. I don't want to have it on longer than actual daylight. I wouldn't do that. That just messes them up. Solar panels unplugged for the year. Again, the battery's gone, and my power supply is running everything 12 volt. This takes 110 and converts it into 12 volt DC. Again, this I had laying around. Used to run bulk tank scales, and haven't used it for many years. My farm hasn't been operating for 15 years, and but I had this, and if you had to go buy this power supply, it's probably $200. You can get them cheaper than that, but this is a pretty industrial one. It doesn't get, it's barely warm. It's trip light for a reason. It's fused, but it gives constant 12 volt power at the correct amperage. This switch turns on an outside motion sensor dusk to dawn light. It's another predator element in my system. Again, I'll put links to all this in. As you can see in the inside here, it's become kind of a storeroom, a store shed as well, which is fine. Plenty of room in here. It's only 5 feet wide by 10, but there's room in here for some tools and buckets and things like that. Extra feed. Keep the predators, or keep the mouses out. Yeah. So let's go out by the hens. Morning, girls. Morning, Skip. Skip is a leghorn, but he's crossed with something. He's got a little yellow tinge. This is Oreo. She's my barred rock. That's Sandy eating in the main feeder. She's an olive egger, and so is the black chicken behind her. That's Raven. She also lays an olive egg. And then I've got another Buff Orpington. And I've got a pair of golden laced Wyandottes. So out here, again, I'm switching over to winter time. So I did put a different waterer out here for now. But this is where the dog dish will sit. And heated dog dish. Here's the door coming out to the run. Those blocks were on the ground because when it worked out that this outside water was too high. So I put cement blocks under each water so they could reach them. And it worked out fine. But, you know, it gets dusty in here. But I'd rather have dusty than muddy. So that worked out good. I put the blocks over there in the corner just for an extra little windbreak in the winter. And yeah, I'm excited about this. This is my auto feeder, and it works out really well. Right now there's probably 70 pounds of feed in there, and that will last my 6 chickens a couple months. It stays really dry, because we're under a covered roof. And because of that, I added another little feature to it. I added this little indicating stick. And this is a $2 kitchen sink sprayer holder that goes in the sink, holds your sprayer. I'll show you how that works. So I just cut a hole with a utility knife in the top, and that tightens right down and makes a nice port for my measuring stick. And you can see it's a little bit more than half full. This is a 33-gallon. I mean, if you had more birds, 50-gallon, however, I mean, this is plenty. I don't want to have feed sitting here too long, but I keep checking on it. It seems to be working really good. And what happens is, this is just a dowel. And I screwed an old cream cheese lid on it, and that just sits on the top like that. And as the feed goes down, the stick goes down with it, and it tells me how much feed is in this barrel without coming in here and pulling the lid off. So I know when to get more feed. Works out pretty good. And again, not an original idea. Saw somebody else on YouTube did the same thing. But yep, when it gets down to red, I need to add more feed. Right now it just went from green to blue, which is about half full. And when it's full, it's green. So yeah, it's going to take a while to go from here to here with 6 birds. But you can see they really like using this. And if you notice, there's no waste. There's a little bit of dust of feed on that cement block that I have it sitting on. But in my other coop, when I used a standard feeder, they would scratch out and waste so much feed that it would end up on the floor and wasted. There is no wasted feed at all. And they get in there and they'll just go at it, and it's fresh and easy for them to get at. Let's see if I can show you what it looks like inside there. They just stick their head in there and get at that feed. Those are 4-inch elbows. And the inside of the elbow is 1.5 inches off the bottom. So the feed will just continually go in there. I'll post a link to the video I saw of somebody making one of these. And, you know, again, a lot of these ideas are not original to me. Other people have done it with great success, so I'm trying things out. Even though I've had birds for 18 years, I always learn. So here's another Wise Cam. This one I haven't hooked up quite yet because it doesn't connect with my Wi-Fi. So I'm going to have to do a little experimenting with this too and change the antenna on it so it reaches. Because basically, because of all this hardware cloth, this 1/2-inch hardware cloth that wraps this run, it's like a Faraday cage, which kind of blocks transmission. So I'm gonna modify this camera with a better antenna. And again, I found somebody online that did this with this camera with great success. So I already have the parts coming. I'm just waiting for parts to come in next week to modify this camera, and then I'll have a camera out here in the run. I'll post a couple pictures of what the Wise Cam looks like. I already have my hole drilled for running the power cord for the heated dog dish. And I'll zip tie that cord right to the back side of this 1/2-inch PVC. Again, to keep, I don't know if they've tried to roost on here, but it gets dusty in here. So, you know, that's just dust. That's okay, they like dust. And they've eaten up the pumpkin I put out here for them, so I got to get another one. I put a little roost out here. Nothing fancy. I already have plans to add another automatic door that's going to go right there. And so I can let them out to free range. But I'm not going to do that till next spring. I already have the actuator, and I'll show you what that looks like. Solid. So, let's go and get to it. All right. So here is my other actuator. So all that's to it. It's if you salvage an actuator from a chair like I have, I've got several of these. I've tested them all. Some of the wiring is a little funky. The two that I chose, the wiring was easy. And, you know, usually there's like 7 wires that come out of these. And you just have to find the ones that run the motor, and that's all it does. It already has a built-in limit switch, so it shuts off when it gets all the way open or all the way closed. And yeah, this is the one that I'm going to use for an outside auto door so they can free range. And it's got that part ready to go. The outside one, I wanted a little bit more beefy. So I picked up a steel plate. This is going to cover the door on the outside. It's a steel plate. And it's not a thin steel plate. It's solid. That's going to be a Fort Knox door coming and going out of that outside run. Because if there's going to be a weak point in my system, it's going to be that other auto door. And I'm going to make it as beefy as I can. Now these auto openers, they can lift 300-400 pounds. So that's not an issue. And of course, all these linear actuators that come off of chairs are 24 volt DC. 24 volt DC. And but 12 volt will operate them. They just operate slower, which is a good thing. I don't want them to go fast. So, like I said, to travel 8¼ inches, it takes just over a minute for that one to open and close. So, and that's because it's a 24 volt actuator running on 12 volt. Doesn't hurt the motor, it just runs slower. So, yeah. If you have any questions, leave some comments. I'll try to answer them.